Hey guys, so some of y'all had seen me using these rod leashes on some of the videos. You can see them hooked to the rods. You'd asked me to explain or make a video of how I made the rod leashes. It's not my idea. It's when I got off TKF and I looked back in the archives and I can't find where I originally saw this idea. So I thought, well, I'll make a video. Again, it's not my idea, but just to show you how to use it. So the things you're going to need a wooden dowel or a fiberglass dowel. I had an old fiberglass tent pole that I cut down to size. And how long should it be? It depends. I went to a garage sale, so Mama can't get mad about me using her pans, and bought a saucepan and I cut the dowel that will fit inside the saucepan. That's how long I make my dowels, and so that's going to determine how long my leashes end up being. They will stretch, so they take up quite a bit of stretch. So cut a dowel, about 3/8 inch wood dowel or fiberglass dowel, to the length of a saucepan. Okay, so this is a rod leash, like the ones that I use off my boat. In fact, this one's off my boat. So some of you guys had asked about how to make these rod leashes, and actually the leash material itself is weed eater trimmer line. I like the yellow. It shows up with both of my boats. It's high vis. I like it. I also like the orange, just because I don't know, makes a good contrast with my green kayak. But basically, it's weed trimmer line. You need a couple of carabiners, just the cheap aluminum carabiners, and then for I guess you can see that well. For attaching them, I went to Home Depot and bought these ferrule and stop sets made of aluminum, but it's basically a double-barreled crimp. If you can see on there, it's 3/32 of an inch. So that's about the size that works with the weed eater line that I've been working with. The other thing, I'll show you in a little bit better detail, is this dowel that I talked about. Now I've taken mine and I drilled a hole in each end. It's just a large enough hole that the weed eater line will fit through it. So if I take a piece of this weed eater line, you can see that it will go through, but not with a lot of excess room. And so at each end, 1/4 of an inch from the end or so, I drilled a hole through there. Now with fiberglass, I used my Dremel tool and smoothed out the entry and the exit so it doesn't end up with fiberglass pieces sticking me in the finger. I rounded the ends off a little bit so that they're not so rough. And again, that needs to fit in whatever size pan you've got that you can boil water in. So you're going to have to boil this thing once you get it wound up. And so it's going to, how long can your stick be, how long can your leash be, is going to be determined by how large a pan you've got to work with. What we're going to do is we're going to take this weed eater line. I pulled out a couple of feet of it, and I've got this dowel. So I'm going to push the weed eater line through about 4 to 5 inches, maybe 6 inches through, and then you're just going to take this line and start wrapping it. It's important, keep the wraps tight, keep it smooth, keep it close together. So if you end up getting a gap like that, you can push them back up there. Just make sure you want it as packed in and as compact as you can get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind this all the way down to the other end, and I'm going to cut the line so that I have enough excess. I'm going to push it through the hole just like up here. I'm going to repeat the process down here and have some sticking out. So I'll come back to you when I get that done. Alright guys, so I think you can see what I've done. I took my dowel, I pushed about 5 or 6 inches through this end and started wrapping. I wrapped all the way through to the other end, and this will test your hand strength. Your hands will get tired of holding that wrap as you go through, but you get it up to the other end, you cut yourself a length and push it back through. And it doesn't matter that the lengths are not exactly the same at this point. All that matters is when I get my saucepan, I can fit the coils under a layer of water. I'm going to run about 1 inch of water in this pan, put this on to boil. When it boils, I'm going to put this in and boil for 10 minutes. Alright guys, so I went in and I cooked this for 10 minutes. I boiled it for 10 minutes, pulled it out, put it in the freezer for another 10 minutes, and it should have the memory set. So we'll just back it off of there, let it unwind and come off. This stick's going to be sweating. That's okay. So there we go. We have the majority of a leash. Now we have to do put our pieces on here. I like to put them up pretty snug, where I've got room to put my carabiner on there, but not a lot of extra room. That'll just about be it. Okay, the next trick is a very gentle application of force. We're going to take that aluminum and a hammer, and we're going to flatten it out. Like that. We take our cutter, nip the extra off, and we've got one connection. You can bring a small carabiner, hook it on there, and you've got one end. We're going to do the same thing on this other end, and we should be set. Alright, so I've got this end attached to a carabiner, got the other end attached to a carabiner, and all I'm going to do, one end hooks to a pad eye or the back of my seat on a ring. The other end will attach at the base of the reel, and I'll show you that in a second on how I do that, and you'll be set. Alright, so here we are on the workbench, and what I've done, I used to try to hook to some of these bars on the reels, but you can tell there's not a lot of space between the spool and the bar. So what I did is I took the bottom here of the reel and ran a big heavy zip tie around, as big as would fit in there, and now I can clip onto that. I've got a decent hold on it. I'm only running 4 or 5 pounds of drag on these reels, so if I'm doing that and I drop it, I've got more than enough power on there, and the leash is attached. So there you go. Okay, I've slightly modified this to use for a paddle. I like the stainless clips. When I clip onto the paddle, I use the paddle all the time. It stays wet, and the stainless clips weigh a little more, but when I clip it on right there next to my seat, it doesn't seem to bother me much. And the big difference is on this side. I took a piece of Velcro, like Velcro roll, like tape, piece about 1 foot long, and on this other end I made a larger loop that you can see, and it needs to be large enough that you can put the Velcro through it. So what I do is lay it along there, put this on relatively snug, and that'll lay basically flat as you're using the paddle. If you like, move it to the other side and lay it around that button, and it'll pretty much stay put. The way this is laying, I might switch the paddle so that it tends to lay flat and out of the way, and when you're paddling it's not a big issue. So pretty simple process, and it definitely is a working leash. I enjoy them a lot more because I made it. Not so much that I'm a cheapskate, although I am, but I just enjoy anything where I can make it myself. I enjoy playing with it more. So there you go. There's my take on leashes, and hopefully you can go make yourself some and start enjoying the same ones I do.